The year is 1111. Roger, barely a man, surveys his domain. Sicily, a land of sun-drenched shores and fertile valleys, is his birthright, a county carved out by his father, Roger I, from the grip of Saracen emirs. Across the narrow strait lies Calabria, part of the Duchy of Apulia, held by his cousin William. But Roger's ambition stretches far beyond the shores of Sicily. He dreams of a unified Norman kingdom in southern Italy. Roger's inheritance was not without its challenges. The Norman conquest of southern Italy had been a piecemeal affair, with various adventurers carving out their own territories. Roger faced rebellious barons, jealous of his power and eager to expand their own holdings. He was acutely aware of the ever-present threat from the mainland. The young count proved a shrewd military commander. He swiftly crushed insurrections, displaying both courage and ruthlessness. One by one, the rebellious barons were brought to heel, their castles seized, their power broken. Roger's reputation as a strong and decisive leader grew with each victory. Roger understood that military might alone was not enough. He also needed to navigate the treacherous waters of papal politics. The Pope held considerable influence in southern Italy, and Roger sought to secure his recognition and support. Negotiations were delicate, requiring both diplomacy and a willingness to compromise. With his position in Sicily secure, Roger turned his attention to the mainland. The death of his cousin William had plunged Apulia into chaos, creating an opportunity for Roger to intervene. He landed his forces in Calabria, intent on reuniting the Norman territories under his rule. The conquest of Apulia and Calabria was a long and arduous process. Roger faced determined resistance from local barons and rival claimants. Battles raged across the countryside, sieges dragged on for months, and alliances shifted with the changing tides of fortune. One of the most difficult of these campaigns was the capture of Melfi, a city of strategic importance. Roger was finally able to take the city after a long siege. Years passed, and Roger's relentless campaigns gradually brought the Norman territories under his control. By 1127, he stood as the undisputed master of Apulia and Calabria, his power rivaling that of the Pope himself. Roger returned to Palermo in triumph, his ambitions soaring higher than ever before. Roger sought formal recognition of his authority. In 1130, he secured the support of anti-Pope Anacletus II, who bestowed upon him the title of King of Sicily. This act defied Pope Innocent II, plunging southern Italy into a new round of conflict. Nevertheless, Roger had what he needed. Roger II, King of Sicily. The title resonated with power and ambition. He had achieved what no Norman before him had accomplished, the unification of southern Italy under a single crown. But his reign was far from secure. Enemies surrounded him, and the Pope refused to acknowledge his legitimacy. Roger knew that he would have to defend his kingdom against both internal and external threats. He built a powerful army, drawing on the diverse population of Sicily and southern Italy. Norman knights, Arab soldiers, and Greek mercenaries fought side by side under the banner of the King of Sicily. Roger was not only a warrior, but also a shrewd administrator. He surrounded himself with talented advisors, regardless of their ethnicity or religion. Arab scholars, Greek bureaucrats, and Norman nobles worked together to create a sophisticated and efficient government. The Kingdom of Sicily was Roger's creation, a crucible where Norman ambition, Arab learning, and Greek culture mingled and fused. It was a kingdom forged in war and tempered by diplomacy, a kingdom that would shape the destiny of southern Italy for centuries to come. As Roger knelt in prayer, he knew that his journey had just begun. The year is 1111. Roger II, though young, already possessed a shrewdness beyond his years. He inherited a fragmented Sicily, a patchwork of Norman, Arab, and Byzantine influences. His first task, to consolidate power and forge a unified kingdom. Roger initiated sweeping administrative reforms. He established a centralized bureaucracy, staffed by men of diverse backgrounds chosen for their talent, not their lineage. New legal codes, drawing from Norman, Arab, and Byzantine law, were created to ensure justice and order. Infrastructure projects flourished under Roger's reign. Roads were built, harbors were improved, and trade routes were secured, fostering economic growth and connecting the far reaches of his kingdom. Roger II was a patron of the arts and sciences. His court became a haven for scholars, artists, and craftsmen from across the Mediterranean. The Palatine Chapel in Palermo stands as a testament to his vision, a stunning fusion of Norman, Arab, and Byzantine artistic styles. Geography and cartography thrived under Roger's patronage. Arab scholars produced detailed maps and navigational guides, making Sicily a center of maritime knowledge. Roger's ambition often brought him into conflict with the papacy. He asserted his authority over the church in Sicily, challenging papal claims and solidifying his control over the kingdom. This led to periods of excommunication and political maneuvering. Despite the conflicts, Roger ultimately sought reconciliation with the papacy. Through diplomacy and strategic alliances, he secured papal recognition of his royal title, legitimizing his dynasty and strengthening his position in Europe. Roger's ambitions extended beyond Sicily. He launched military campaigns into mainland Italy, seeking to expand his influence and secure his kingdom's borders. Roger's court became renowned for its splendor and sophistication. He hosted lavish banquets and ceremonies, showcasing Sicily's wealth and power to visiting dignitaries. Roger understood the importance of naval power. He built a formidable fleet, which dominated the Mediterranean and protected Sicily's trade routes. In his later years, Roger continued to pursue knowledge and innovation. He commissioned Al-Idrisi to create a comprehensive map of the world, a testament to his insatiable curiosity. Roger II's reign transformed Sicily into a powerful and culturally vibrant kingdom, a beacon of tolerance and innovation in medieval Europe. His legacy would endure, shaping the destiny of the island for generations to come. 1154. Roger II, the architect of the Kingdom of Sicily's greatness, lay dying. His reign, marked by unparalleled prosperity and cultural fusion, was drawing to a close, leaving behind a legacy that would be tested in the years to come. With Roger's passing, his son, William I, ascended the throne. Unlike his father William, nicknamed the Bad, lacked Roger's political acumen and decisive leadership, a flaw that would soon be exploited by those who craved power. William's reliance on Mayo of Bari, a man of humble origins who rose to become the kingdom's most influential advisor, fueled resentment among the Norman aristocracy. They saw Mayo as an upstart, an obstacle to their own ambitions. Conspiracies brewed in the shadows. Robert of Bishenvilla, William's own cousin, and other powerful barons saw an opportunity to seize control. They plotted to overthrow William and replace him with a ruler more amenable to their interests. The internal strife emboldened external enemies. Manuel I Comnenos, the Byzantine emperor, saw Sicily as a prize ripe for the taking. He launched an invasion, hoping to reclaim the island for the Eastern Roman Empire. Messina fell after a fierce siege. The Byzantine forces, bolstered by local discontent, pushed further into Sicily, threatening William's hold on the kingdom. The barons' conspiracy reached its climax. Mayo of Bari, the architect of William's policies and the object of their hatred, was assassinated. His death plunged the kingdom further into chaos. William himself was captured and imprisoned. The barons, drunk with power, attempted to impose their will on the kingdom, but their rule was short-lived. Popular support for William, coupled with the ruthlessness of loyal troops, turned the tide. The rebellion was crushed, and William was restored to his throne, though his authority was weakened. William's reign continued, but the events had left an indelible mark. He became increasingly paranoid, distrustful of his own court, and wary of any potential threat to his power. Tensions remained high between the Norman, Arab, and Byzantine populations. William, unlike his father, struggled to manage the diverse kingdom. This marked a significant change from the religious acceptance under Roger's rule. William I died in 1166, leaving the kingdom to his young son, William II. The instability that had plagued his reign had weakened the foundations of the kingdom, setting the stage for further turmoil in the years to come. The year is 1189. William II, the good king, is dead. He left no direct heir, plunging the kingdom of Sicily into uncertainty. The prosperity and stability forged by his grandfather, Roger II, seemed poised to crumble. Far to the north, in the lands of the Holy Roman Empire, Constance of Hauteville received the news. She was the only surviving legitimate heir of the Norman kings, the daughter of Roger II's fourth son, Roger, Count of Apulia. By right, the throne was hers. Her husband, Henry VI, Holy Roman Emperor, saw Sicily as a valuable prize. The kingdom's wealth and strategic location were too tempting to ignore. He pledged his support to Constance's claim, but his own ambitions were never far from his mind. But in Sicily, another claimant emerged. Tancred of Lex, an illegitimate son of Roger, Duke of Apulia, Roger II's eldest son. He was charismatic and popular, and many Sicilians, wary of foreign rule, rallied to his banner. Tancred argued that Sicily should be ruled by a Sicilian, not a German emperor. He appealed to the island's sense of independence and promised to uphold the laws and customs established by the Norman kings. Constance and Henry began to gather support. They sent envoys to the Pope, seeking his blessing. They also negotiated with various Sicilian nobles, promising them lands and titles in exchange for their loyalty. The Sicilian nobility was divided. Some feared Henry's power and the prospect of becoming a mere province of the Holy Roman Empire. Others saw an opportunity to gain influence and wealth under the new regime. Tancred, meanwhile, consolidated his control over Sicily. He was crowned king in Palermo, securing the support of the powerful Archbishop Walter of the Mill. He prepared for war, knowing that Henry would not relinquish his claim without a fight. In 1190, Henry VI launched his invasion. He gathered a large army and crossed the Alps, determined to claim the kingdom of Sicily for himself and his wife. The war was long and bloody. Henry's forces laid siege to Naples, but the city resisted fiercely. Disease ravaged his army, and many of his German knights succumbed to the unfamiliar climate. Constance herself traveled to Sicily to bolster her husband's campaign. However, she was captured by Tancred's forces near Salerno, a major blow to Henry's ambitions. Tancred now had his rival in custody, an advantage he could exploit. The fate of Sicily and the Hauteville dynasty now rested on the decisions of Tancred of Lex. Would he show mercy or ruthlessness? The answer would determine the future of the kingdom. The year is 1191. Henry VI, Holy Roman Emperor, focused his gaze on Sicily. His claim, through his wife Constance of Hauteville, was undeniable in his eyes. He envisioned the island, a jewel in the Mediterranean, added to the vast expanse of the Hohenstaufen Empire. The whispers of Tancred's usurpation fueled his resolve. Constance of Hauteville, rightful heir to the Sicilian throne, stood beside her husband. She knew the path ahead would be fraught with peril. Sicily, her homeland, was now a prize to be seized. She hoped for a swift resolution, but the whispers of Tancred's defiance echoed in her mind. In Palermo, Tancred of Lex, illegitimate but resolute, prepared for war. He had seized the throne upon William II's death, defying Constance's claim. He rallied the Sicilian nobility, promising to defend the kingdom against the Hohenstaufen threat. He was determined to hold onto the crown he had claimed. In the spring of 1191, Henry VI's forces descended upon Sicily. The imperial army, a vast and disciplined force, crossed the Strait of Messina, their banners proclaiming the Hohenstaufen claim. The invasion had begun. Messina was the first to fall. Henry's forces laid siege to the city, bombarding its walls with catapults and siege engines. The defenders fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. After weeks of relentless assault, Messina surrendered, opening the door to Sicily. Tancred retreated to Palermo, the heart of his power. He rallied his remaining forces, preparing for a final stand. He knew that the fate of Sicily rested on his shoulders. He vowed to defend the city to the last man. Constance, traveling separately from Henry, was captured near Salerno by forces loyal to Tancred. Her capture was a major victory for Tancred, and he held her as a valuable hostage, hoping to weaken Henry's resolve. Henry was enraged by the news of Constance's capture. He saw it as a personal affront and vowed to avenge her. He intensified his campaign, determined to crush Tancred and secure the throne for himself and his wife. Fate intervened. In 1194, Tancred succumbed to illness, his reign cut short. His death threw Sicily into further turmoil, weakening the resistance against Henry's forces. The kingdom teetered on the brink of collapse. With Tancred gone, Palermo fell swiftly. Henry VI entered the city in triumph, his victory complete. Sicily was now firmly under Hohenstaufen control. The eagle had conquered the lion. Henry's rule was harsh and unforgiving. He brutally suppressed any remaining resistance, executing Tancred's former supporters and confiscating their lands. He was determined to consolidate his power and ensure that no one would challenge his claim to the throne. Constance, now Queen of Sicily, sat beside her husband. The Hohenstaufen eagle had landed, its shadow cast long over the island. The fate of Sicily was now intertwined with the destiny of the Holy Roman Empire. The crucible had been lit, and the kingdom would be forever changed. Henry VI, now King of Sicily, wasted no time in asserting his authority. His vision extended far beyond the island's shores. He saw Sicily as a vital stepping stone towards solidifying Hohenstaufen dominance over the Holy Roman Empire. One of Henry's first acts was to attempt integrating the Sicilian administration with that of the Holy Roman Empire. This move, intended to streamline governance, was met with resistance from the Norman aristocracy, who saw it as an erosion of their traditional privileges. To fund his grand imperial ambitions, Henry imposed heavy taxes on the Sicilian populace. These levies, far exceeding those under Norman rule, fueled resentment among all social classes. Queen Constance, though bearing the Hohenstaufen name, felt a deep connection to her Sicilian heritage. She witnessed the growing discontent with a heavy heart, understanding the burdens placed upon her people. Whispers of rebellion began to circulate throughout the island. Secret meetings were held in the countryside, where grievances were aired and plans for resistance were hatched. Reports of Sicilian unrest reached Henry's ears, fueling his paranoia. He responded with increased repression, further alienating the population. German knights, loyal to Henry, patrolled the streets of Sicilian cities, their presence a constant reminder of Hohenstaufen might and a symbol of the kingdom's subjugation. Amidst this turmoil, young Frederick, Henry's son and heir, remained largely shielded from the political realities, his days filled with childish pursuits within the palace walls. In 1197, while preparing for yet another campaign to further his imperial ambitions, Henry VI fell suddenly ill in Messina. Despite the best efforts of his physicians, Henry's condition deteriorated rapidly. Queen Constance was at his side when he breathed his last, leaving her a widow and Sicily in a precarious state. Henry's death sent shockwaves throughout the kingdom. His reign, though brief, had left an indelible mark on Sicily, one of increased centralization, heavy taxation, and simmering resentment. The kingdom now rested in the hands of his infant son, Frederick, with Constance as regent. The future of Sicily, once again, hung in the balance, poised on the edge of further upheaval. In the heart of Palermo's royal palace, a small boy named Frederick, heir to both the Sicilian kingdom and the Holy Roman Empire, began his life. The weight of his lineage, though unseen, shaped his destiny from the very start. Constance of Hauteville, Frederick's mother and queen of Sicily, watched over her son with fierce devotion. Knowing the perils that surrounded them, she instilled in him the values of justice, wisdom, and resilience. Constance, understanding the diverse cultural tapestry of Sicily, ensured Frederick received an education that transcended religious and ethnic boundaries. Saracen scholars shared their knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and philosophy with the young prince. Palermo, a melting pot of Norman, Arab, and Jewish influences, served as Frederick's classroom. He absorbed the sights, sounds, and stories of the city, shaping his worldview and fostering a deep appreciation for diversity. As regent, Constance faced numerous challenges, including the machinations of ambitious nobles vying for power. She navigated the treacherous political landscape with skill and determination, always prioritizing the safety and rights of her son. Following his mother's death, Frederick was taken to Rome under the protection of Pope Innocent III. The change was jarring, the opulence of the papal court a stark contrast to the familiar comforts of Palermo. Despite the political intrigues of Rome, Frederick found solace in the city's rich history and culture. He spent hours exploring ancient ruins, poring over forgotten texts, and engaging in discussions with scholars and artists. However, Rome was also a city of violence and corruption. Frederick witnessed firsthand the power struggles between the papacy and the Roman nobility, learning valuable lessons about the nature of power and politics. Despite being under papal guardianship, Frederick never forgot his Sicilian roots. He maintained secret communication with loyalists on the island, keenly aware of the growing unrest and the longing for a strong ruler. Frederick's unique upbringing, a blend of Norman pragmatism, Arab scholarship, and Roman intrigue, forged him into an exceptional individual. His love for learning, his understanding of diverse cultures, and his innate political acumen would soon shape the destiny of Sicily and the Holy Roman Empire. As Frederick approached adulthood, he prepared to return to Sicily, not as a ward of the Pope, but as a king. The island that had shaped his childhood beckoned, and he was ready to embrace his destiny, whatever challenges it may hold. Palermo, 1220. Frederick II, a young king already displaying a keen intellect, set about reforming the Sicilian realm. His vision extended beyond mere governance. He sought to create a kingdom renowned for its justice, learning, and cultural richness. The constitutions of Melfi, promulgated in 1231, were a testament to Frederick's commitment to legal reform. This comprehensive legal code centralized power, establishing a unified system of justice throughout the kingdom and limiting the power of feudal lords. Frederick's court became a beacon of intellectual and artistic activity. The Sicilian school of poetry, writing in the vernacular, flourished under his patronage, producing works of profound beauty and innovation. Scholars from across Europe and the Arab world flocked to Sicily, drawn by the promise of knowledge and opportunity. Beyond the arts, Frederick possessed a deep curiosity for the natural world. He commissioned translations of Arabic and Greek scientific texts, conducted his own experiments, and wrote extensively on falconry, demonstrating a keen understanding of avian biology. Frederick's ambition and independence inevitably brought him into conflict with the papacy. His refusal to fully commit to crusades and his assertion of imperial authority in Italy led to repeated excommunications and accusations of heresy. The Lombard League, a coalition of northern Italian cities, represented another major challenge to Frederick's authority. He waged a long and arduous struggle against them, seeking to reassert imperial control over the prosperous cities of the north. Frederick's reign saw a flurry of building activity. He constructed impressive castles and fortifications throughout the kingdom, both to defend against external threats and to project his power internally. Sicily, under Frederick, became a center of international trade and diplomacy. Ambassadors from across the Mediterranean world and beyond flocked to Palermo, seeking alliances and commercial opportunities. Frederick's fascination with knowledge extended to astronomy and mathematics. He patronized scholars from diverse backgrounds, fostering an environment of intellectual exchange and innovation. Frederick envisioned Sicily as a kingdom of modern cities and efficient administration. He invested in infrastructure projects, promoting trade and improving the lives of his subjects. Despite his achievements, Frederick faced persistent challenges to his authority. Rebellions and conspiracies plagued his reign, requiring him to maintain a strong and often ruthless grip on power. Frederick II, the Stupor Mundi, the wonder of the world, left an indelible mark on Sicily. His reign was a period of unparalleled innovation and cultural flourishing, forever shaping the island's identity and legacy, but also sowing the seeds of future conflict. The year is 1225. Frederick's reforms, though enlightened, stirred resentment. The old Norman families, their privileges curtailed, plotted in the shadows. Whispers of rebellion echoed in the Sicilian countryside. Frederick, ever the pragmatist, responded with force. He led his loyal troops into the rebellious areas, quelling the uprisings with swift, decisive action. His reputation as a formidable military leader grew. But Sicily was not Frederick's only concern. The Lombard League, a coalition of powerful northern Italian cities, defied his imperial authority. He prepared for war, knowing that the fate of his empire hung in the balance. The Italian campaigns were brutal. Frederick, though a brilliant strategist faced determined resistance. The war dragged on for years, draining the resources of both sides. Meanwhile, his relationship with the papacy deteriorated further. Pope Gregory IX, suspicious of Frederick's power and his perceived heresy, excommunicated him. The conflict between emperor and pope reached a fever pitch. In a daring move, Frederick embarked on a crusade, reclaiming Jerusalem through diplomacy rather than bloodshed. He crowned himself King of Jerusalem, further infuriating the Pope. Despite the turmoil, Frederick continued to foster learning and the arts. His court in Sicily became a center of intellectual exchange, attracting scholars and artists from across the known world. He challenged conventional wisdom and embraced new ideas. He possessed a boundless curiosity, collecting exotic animals and sponsoring scientific investigations. His interests ranged from falconry to medicine, and he encouraged experimentation in all fields. But intrigue and treachery never ceased. Conspiracies against Frederick were uncovered, and he dealt with his enemies ruthlessly. His reign was marked by both brilliance and brutality. Despite the constant challenges, Frederick remained determined to build a strong, centralized state. He reformed the legal system, promoted trade, and invested in infrastructure. His vision for Sicily was one of prosperity and order. But the shadow of the emperor stretched far, and it cast a long pall over the kingdom. Opposition to Frederick's rule continued to grow, fueled by papal intrigue and resentment of his policies. The seeds of future conflict were sown. Frederick knew that his enemies were gathering, both within and without. The coming years would test his strength and his resolve. The fate of Sicily and of the Hohenstaufen dynasty hung precariously in the balance. 1250. Frederick II, Emperor King of Sicily, the Stupor Mundi, lay dying. His ambitious vision for Sicily, for a unified and enlightened empire, remained unfinished. His death marked not just the end of a reign, but the beginning of the unraveling of the Hohenstaufen dream. Conrad IV, Frederick's son, inherited the Sicilian crown and the burden of his father's enemies. The Pope, ever vigilant, saw an opportunity to break the Hohenstaufen hold on southern Italy. Rebellions, fueled by papal gold and ancient grudges, flared across the kingdom. Pope Innocent IV from the Vatican formally declared Conrad IV deposed. The papacy, strengthened and emboldened, offered the Sicilian crown to Charles of Anjou, brother of the King of France, setting in motion a chain of events that would forever alter Sicily's destiny. Conrad, struggling to maintain control, found himself constantly at war, battling papal armies and rebellious barons. The kingdom, once a beacon of prosperity, was now scarred by conflict and uncertainty. Conrad IV died in 1254, weakened by years of warfare and hardship. His death left the Hohenstaufen cause in Sicily to his illegitimate brother Manfred. Manfred, Frederick's illegitimate son, stepped into the breach. Handsome, intelligent, and charismatic, he rallied the remaining Hohenstaufen forces and proclaimed himself King of Sicily. Many Sicilians, remembering the glory days of Frederick II, embraced him. Charles of Anjou, backed by papal authority and French might, prepared to claim his prize. His army, a formidable force of French knights and mercenaries, gathered on the mainland, ready to invade. The clash came at Benevento in 1266. Manfred, fighting bravely, led his Sicilian forces against the Angevin onslaught, but the French knights, disciplined and ruthless, proved too strong. Manfred fell in battle, his dreams of a restored Hohenstaufen kingdom shattered. His death marked a turning point. The Angevin forces swept across Sicily, meeting little resistance. Charles of Anjou entered Palermo in triumph. The Hohenstaufen dynasty was overthrown. A new era, one of French rule and Angevin oppression, dawned upon Sicily. But the Sicilian spirit was not broken. Beneath the surface of Angevin rule, resentment simmered. Sicilian nobles, chafing under French dominance and heavy taxation, began to plot their revenge. The seeds of rebellion had been sown. The Hohenstaufen era in Sicily was over, but the story of Sicily was far from finished. The island, a crucible of cultures and ambitions, was about to enter a new and turbulent chapter, one that would test its resilience and shape its destiny for centuries to come.